Hi everyone, welcome to another Blitz review. This is for Dunaia. I'm not entirely certain how you're supposed to pronounce the title. This is another reason why publishers should really stop naming their games with weird titles. But this is from Blam Games, takes about an hour, 2 to 4 players, and it's essentially a light dice drafting, as if we haven't seen enough of those, building game where you're putting buildings on your board and you're using what they call Dunaias to activate the buildings and score points and get various bonuses. Although I'm going to stop calling them that in case I'm butchering the name, and I'm just going to call them golems or robots because that's essentially what they are. You want proof of this? The start of the thing says, the Dunaias, beings of steel fueled by a mysterious energy and wielding complex powers. That's pretty much a golem, isn't it? Well, as close as near makes no difference, so whatever. Theme is not exactly a big deal here. The theme is almost pretty much pasted on and non-existent. So on your turn, you are drafting a die, which can be either white or your own player color, and you are using these to activate the golems on your board to activate the buildings that are adjacent to it. These buildings allow you to move your golems around faster, they allow you to improve the construction speed of some of them. There's no resources in this game. It's not like you're collecting wood or stone or anything. It's just a progress marker, and the more times you activate it, the more it progresses up. Or you can collect these metal flowers, which you can trade in for various bonuses and such as well. That's essentially the gist of it, although the slight twist with the dice drafting is that the white dice have to be chosen first, and only when they're all depleted are you then allowed to take your color die. So it's a little different from other games where it's normally a pool of dice and you choose from any of them and you see what's left. This time you know your last die is going to be this particular value, so it allows you to plan ahead for it. You know that, say, my green die is going to be a 5. Well, if I activate that right now, that's not going to do a lot for me. But if I spend the rest of my turn just leading up, putting some golems there, and being able to activate the 5 later for bigger effect, I can at least plan ahead for that, or decide, you know what, that's just going to be a rubbish die, I really need to do this stuff over here. That's a slight twist to other games, I got to admit. I mentioned before the theme is pretty pasted on. It really is. I mean, like I say, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing the name of this right. It's basically every generic sort of sci-fi trope. But basically it's a case of, here's your board, here's some buildings, build some robots, activate the buildings. As simple as that. Components though are pretty decent. I mean, they maybe could have made some of these things a little bit larger, especially the robot standees, which I think are probably the slight disappointment. I mean, I'm not expecting miniatures, we don't need that, but these are very small little standees, and I feel like they could have been larger, you know, just so it was a bit easier to see, oh yeah, that's my 5, that's my 3, but you only really need to care what you have as opposed to what other players do. In fact, there's not a huge amount of player interaction in this game, apart from which die you're taking before they do. Yes, you do have a rule where if they've built a level 1 building, you can put a die onto their building and use the bonus of that. It essentially means you've got to give them a metal flower for doing so. So it's like you give them a little bonus, but I get to use your building. That's essentially it though. Other than that, there's not really a great deal of interaction other than the typical you took my die or you grabbed that prophecy bonus before I got a chance. The artwork's pretty decent throughout though. It's nice and colourful, even if your player board does look a little bit on the busy side. At first I looked at this and I thought, oh my god, am I supposed to tell what's going on around here? But it doesn't matter too much. You just have to know that there's 3 spots between each building, and the bonuses that are on the building are once off only. Like as soon as you cover it up, that's it, it's done. So it's not a big deal that the board is a little busy, because once you get these buildings on, they're pretty clear in terms of, alright, this has this many progress markers that are required, and it tells you what the bonus is on the flip side of the building once you complete it. So that's handy to know. It's good that you haven't got to spend ages flipping over every building to try and figure out what's what. And with these buildings, the crux is you're mainly trying to match colours. So the level 1 buildings are mainly just a single bonus that you can stick a die into and get a bonus. Nice and simple. The level 2s and level 3s are more about adjacency and colour matching. So they'll have arrows on them saying get a bonus, a memory chip, a metal flower or whatever, or with the level 3s you get the points at the end of the game, and the idea is that for each one adjacent that matches the same color, you get that bonus when you activate that building. So you can create yourself a nice engine where you have a mixture of colors where you don't get a ton for each one, but you get a little bit every time you do something, or you can have an engine where as long as you're able to activate that particular building on a regular basis, then you can get some really nice, like, boom, a swarm of bonuses. So it's entirely up to you what you have to do. The slight weak element of the game, though, is where I found it a bit more fiddly than it should be. You can get these little things called memory chips, and they're very tiny, they correspond to die values, and what you do is on this little sideboard where you normally buy the buildings and that from, you essentially get to summon the use of an elder. There's some different abilities that they can have at the start of the game, so you basically set up 3 unique ones each game, which is cool. You get a little bit of differentiation, and what you do is that you slot a memory chip in there corresponding to the number, you get to use the ability, and you get these fragments, and by filling up these fragments you can essentially get like more points and stuff at the end of the game for having them. But these fragments I found to be quite fiddly. They slot together fine, but the patterns don't easily match when you're trying to slot them together. And I don't know if that was intentional, whether it's a case that you're supposed to get lucky when you assemble these, or maybe it was just like, I don't know, bad design with the artwork, I don't know. But I found myself when I tried to slot 3 of them together to form a big artifact that the art just never seemed to match a lot. But I couldn't, and even like the different fittings, but I couldn't tell if that was supposed to be luck of the draw that you got that, or whether it was intentional. So it was kind of odd. I found these just to be a little bit on the iffy side, but not enough of a detractor on the game per se, but I think maybe this could have just been handled a bit differently. I mean, the idea that you're using these to assemble a fragment, again, has no theme whatsoever. I mean, you could have literally just had a track or some other way of doing it. I feel like this was maybe just a little bit over fiddly for what it needed to be. But all in all, the game is fine. It's a bit of light fun. It's a slight twist on the dice drafting mechanic, but with the non-existent theme and a couple of little fiddly bits and stuff like that, I don't know if this one's really going to get a huge amount of buzz. It's only just been released, and I certainly recommend giving it a try, but I can't see this one standing up against a lot of other dice drafting games. It's light, not gateway level, but light. The rules are pretty straightforward. You know, the book has got some pretty good pictorial examples of what's going on. There's only about, I think, 2, 4, 6 pages of rules you really need to read, and then the back is just a reference thing. So it's a simple game, just not quite gateway level, but yeah, I just can't necessarily see this one standing up to the competition. You know, it's nice, it's cool, I'll play it, but I'm not really going to seek it out. It's not one I'm going to hang on to. So I would overall give Dunaia, whatever. I'm going to get so much hate for that title. But I'm giving this one a 6 out of 10. It's decent, it's fine, it's above average. I just don't think there's quite enough in here to make it stand out. You know, the whole idea of drafting your color die last is neat, but that's kind of it. That's really the only unique part about this game, and as a USP, that's not enough to really sell it. So, as I say, give it a try if you see it, but I just don't think it's quite like up there with the competition. So that's it for me on this Board Game Blitz review. If you like what you see, then please consider leaving a thumbs up on the video. It means a lot to me to know that you appreciate the content. Also, don't forget this channel is sponsored by Zatu.co.uk. If you want to save yourself 5% discount on all your game purchases, then check if this one is in stock if it took your fancy, or maybe something else I've featured on the channel, and see if there's something that you want to add to your shelves. If you want to check out other content on my channel, I've recently done a video where I talk about my top 10 tiny games, or ones that I can fit in my pocket, which is pretty sweet. And if you are a fan of Spirit Island, I've recently done a live stream with Jonah from One Pit Wonder where we talk about our 5 favourite spirits. Take care, and remember, as always, it's only a game. Bye for now.